just joining us for the first time today, you are very much welcome. So just make sure you have your writing materials, make sure you have your book, you have your pen, because we're about to take you on another amazing, amazing journey. Right. So before we dive into the matter for today, I would like to introduce Amdoranalytics and what exactly we do. Right. So at Amdoranalytics, we are committed to empowering individuals to become global talents through our comprehensive and accessible training program. Our mission here is very simple. Our mission is to bridge the skills gap by equipping learners with in-demand skills, enabling them to get informed decision, drive innovation, and create positive change in a tech-driven world, particularly across the African continent. With a track record of helping over 8,000 participants, yes, you heard that right, 8,000 participants successfully transition into tech. We specialize in providing training, trainings for individuals in data analytics, business analytics, cybersecurity, data engineering, HR analytics, project management, and data science. So today we'll be having our first very bootcamp, project management bootcamp. So guys, let's meet our facilitator. We have a super amazing facilitator who is about to wow us on this journey. Let's meet Jagunat Zaidan. So use your favorite emoji. Let's welcome Jagunat Zaidan. If you can hear me, use your favorite emoji. Let's welcome Jagunat Zaidan. So Zaidan is a PMP certified project manager with extensive years of experience, specializing in software development, IT infrastructure, and AI solutions. Zaidan is skilled in managing end-to-end product life cycles and developing enterprise systems, including SAP and ERPMs. And he has also demonstrated success in leading cross-functional teams and utilizing project management tools such as Jira, Asana, Power BI, just to mention a few, to deliver scalable solutions that drive business growth. So Zaidan, are you ready for us tonight? Are you ready for us now?
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, Chika. Yes, I'm ready.
All right, guys. So just like I
Can you
said
see my
earlier,
screen?
yes, just like I said earlier, make sure you have your writing materials because we are about to take you on another amazing journey. For those of us that actually joined the section, our data analytics bootcamp this morning, you can actually testify to the fact that it was nothing short of amazing. Everyone who joined in one way or the other had one or two things to take out. Everyone had one or two good reviews to actually say about our amazing facilitator. So now we present to you another super amazing facilitator who is about to wow us on this journey. All right, Zaidan, let's have you.
Good evening, everyone. Today we'll be talking about stakeholder engagement and the 10 project management areas. I want to believe it's not like I see my screen. Please, Chika, confirm if you are seeing my screen.
Yes, Zaidan, I can see your screen.
So today we'll be talking about stakeholder engagement under project management. To begin this, I would say this. You can't, in every project we have stakeholders, and every stakeholder is important to the project. Now, when we talk about stakeholders, we're talking about your team itself, and your team itself are your internal stakeholders. Then we also have the external stakeholders, which happen to be can also be external team, meaning the clients involved. If you are working in an organization, it can be your MD, the CEO, depending on type of organization or type of project you are handling at that minute. So we're going to start with project management or project management. We're going to start with project management fundamentals. Now, project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet project requirements. It transforms a vision into reality through structured processes. Now, one thing I want us to understand here is uh, in project management, we have different skills, and different projects requires different skills. Different project requires different tools to use and different techniques. For example, under project management, we have the agile project management, we have the waterfall project management, and we have the hybrid, which is a mixture of both the waterfall and agile. Now, in software development, we use agile project management, and that is because software requires you to be flexible and it brings changes along the line. Now, when we talk of IT infrastructure, you can use waterfall project management or use the hybrid project management, depending on what side of the infrastructure you are handling. And then if we talk about construction or some infrastructure or some IT infrastructure, we talk about waterfall project management, which is the reason why we use this is because it's a base-to-base technique. That means you can move to the next tax without completing the previous tax in waterfall. Everything has to be in a sync or scenario based. Now we're going to talk about stakeholders engagement. Now, when we talk about stakeholders engagement, it's not just communication, it's strategic. It's an ongoing process of identifying, analyzing, planning, and interacting with stakeholders to satisfy their needs and expectations, ultimately driving project success. Now, what this means is when we talk about project stakeholder engagement, it means for you to identify the stakeholders, analyze the stakeholders, plan them, and interact with the right stakeholders. Now, what does this mean? It means you have to identify where a stakeholder stand. You have to be able to identify which stakeholder is important and which is less important in the project, or which stakeholder has more influence in the project. So it's also deals with analyzing the stakeholders, planning with the stakeholders also, and interacting with them, which means communicating with them constantly and knowing when to communicate with them. For example, your internal team, as your project team, or depending on the project you're handling, it can be your developers, you are expected to meet or have a meeting with them every day. But when you talk of the external stakeholders or like the top stakeholders, like your CEO, the project sponsor, the CTO, depending on the type of organization you're handling, or it can even be the clients. You are not expected to meet up with the client every day. It can be once a week, it can be twice a month, or depending on the planning or how the planning you've done while managing this project. Now, like I said earlier, we said stakeholders. We have the internal stakeholders, your external stakeholders. So now, like I said, you have your internal stakeholders, which includes your sponsor, your project team, the project management team itself. Your external stakeholders include your customers, suppliers, regulators, and community. So now, one thing I also need you to understand is when you're dealing with external stakeholders, you can't control everything about the external stakeholders. It is most likely, or in most times, they're always beyond your control. Especially when you talk about the regulators, and when you talk about regulators, we talk about governments. We talk about your suppliers, we talk about customers. So you can't have full control over these people. You can only do what you can to manage them from behind or from what you are doing as a project manager with your project team. So, importance of stakeholder engagement. 70% of project failures stem from poor stakeholder management. And why is that? Firstly, is we have the risk mitigation. Unengaged stakeholder causes scope creep, delays, or cancellation. Now, what does that mean? So, for example, you as a project manager, you're expected to manage risk in a project. And to do that, you must engage stakeholders. You must engage the right stakeholders. If you're not engaging the right stakeholders or meeting up with the right stakeholders that might give an insight to what's going on in this project, you might have issues. For example, now, let's say you want to build an application in an organization. You have the HR, you have the CTO, Chief Technological Officer, you have the Chief Information Officer, you have the let's say you have the head of IT, Then you can also have the CEO or the managing director in your organization. You have your human resource manager, your financial manager. Now, one thing you need to understand here is the financial manager, the human resource manager, they have little to no influence in your IT projects compared to the CTO, to the CIO, or the IT manager itself. And why is this? That's because of the power structure of the organization. So you as a project manager, you are expected to meet up with these people, align with with this CTO, with the CIO, with the MD, get what they need, at the beginning of the project and understand what they are trying to achieve with this project. And you must also be able to bring them to align with the project. That means, for example, you might find out probably the CTO doesn't want to be involved in the project, or is not satisfied, or is like, okay, I don't want this project, let's go for that type of project, let's work on something else, and that project, you as a project manager, you are handling it. It is your job to be able to convince this CTO or this stakeholder the reason why that project is important to the organization. So now, in a situation where you are unable to get the needs of this project, the needs of this project from these stakeholders, you're going to have issues like scope creep, delays, and cancellation. In fact, can lead to cancellation of the project. So you can be running the project at the beginning. You only have maybe the scope that from the MD, from the CTO, and you didn't have the scope from the head of IT or the CIO, or try to understand what they're also trying to achieve with this project. Along the line, probably after you're building, or probably imagine being 3 months into the project, and the CTO looks at it, or the CIO looks at it, and they're like, no, this is not what they want. They want something different. They want something better, At the end of the day, you're going to have issues in the project. You're going to have delays because of scope creep, and there are going to be issues. At the end of the day, you might end up canceling the project. Value delivery. We have engaged stakeholders, provide resources, feedback, and buy-in. Please excuse me. Sorry for that. So engaged stakeholders provide resources, feedback, and buy-in. Now, like I said earlier, you must be able to give them the buy-in. You must be able to make every stakeholder buy into that project. The CTO must buy into the project. The CIO, everyone must be involved. Everyone must see the value that project is giving to them or to the organization. Success metrics. PMI, which we call the Project Management Institute, the #1 institute of project managers in the world. Report shows that projects with high stakeholder satisfaction are 2.5 times better, more likely to succeed. Now, what does that mean? It means that in a project where you have more stakeholders satisfied, or all the stakeholders are satisfied, you are likely to succeed in that project. Imagine a project whereby every stakeholder, the CTO, the CIO, the clients, the customer, everyone involved in this project are involved the right way, and they are willing, or they see the importance in this project, and they are willing to invest in this project. You are most likely to succeed in this project as a project manager. Now we have the 4 stakeholders engagement processes. Now we have, like I said earlier, we have the skills, we have techniques, tools and techniques that are used, and the processes used in this. Now, one of the processes here is to identify stakeholders, which is the first thing as a project manager. When you get to a project, or you're trying to understand the project, you have to identify all the stakeholders. Now, what's the purpose of identifying the stakeholders? This is also to discover all potential stakeholders early. You must be able to identify every stakeholder, which these are the stakeholders involved. This is my project team. This is the CTO. This is the CIO. This is the client. This is the customer. This is the project sponsor. You must be able to identify these people early in the project. Identifying them gives you as a project manager the mind and the control of the project, and you know who to meet at certain points of the project. You know who to reach out to if you need certain information in the project. So one of the inputs at this beginning is what we call the project charter. Now, the project charter is a document that shows that, okay, it's a birth certificate for a project. Shows that, okay, this is the beginning, or okay, this is the birth of a project. Now, in a project charter, you expect to have all stakeholders there. You see all the stakeholders on a project charter. their role of designation, and in fact, in some of them, you find their information like their phone numbers, their mail, just so you can reach out to them when needed. Key outputs, we have the stakeholder register. Now, what's the stakeholder register? It's just like a list of the stakeholders and where they stand in the organizations. Now, tools for this, or how the tools or techniques used to identify stakeholders. We have brainstorming, we have interviews, and we have data analysis. Now, brainstorming and interviews that all mean the same at this point. So what we mean here is you as a project manager, you have to be in the in a meeting with these stakeholders, brainstorm with them. Okay, if you are new to the organization, you can ask the head of IT, okay, who am I meant to involve in this project? The head of IT can tell you, okay, involve so and so, involve the CTO, you have to involve the chief information officer also, you have to involve the chief security officer, you have to involve, so so it gives an overhead view that okay, these are the people I need to involve in this project. Secondly, we have plan stakeholder engagement. Now, when we talk about planning stakeholder engagement, we mean this is where you, as a project manager, you have to develop a tailored strategy on how to reach out or manage these stakeholders. The purpose for this is just to develop a strategy to manage the stakeholders. The key inputs here, we have the stakeholder register. Now, for the output of the identify a stakeholder, you have stakeholder register. So you use that stakeholder register when planning the engagement of the use this register to have an overview of okay, this is who these are my stakeholders, and this is how we are going to plan, or this is the plan I'm going to have with them. Now, the output of this, you have the stakeholder engagement plan. Now, the engagement plan gives an overview that, okay, these are the stakeholders. This is how many times I'm meant to reach out to these stakeholders. Your internal team, like I said earlier, you're meant to reach out to them every day. Your developers, you have to find out what they've done at that particular day, what they plan on doing that particular day. If they have any issues, you have to give them constant follow-up. But compared to others in the project, or the CTO, the CIO, you probably might even not even have a meeting with them more than once a week. In most cases, once a week, and the CTO or the CEO of the organization might only have a meeting with him once in a month. So the tools for this is, like I said, the analytical technique, what we call the power and interest grid. Thirdly, we have managed stakeholder engagement. When we talk about managed stakeholder engagement, we talk about communication, and managing relationship during the execution of the project. The key input to this is your stakeholder plan, or your stakeholder engagement plan. You have this engagement plan as an input to managing the stakeholders, So, and the output for this, we have the issue log and change request. Now, one thing you need to understand is when managing these stakeholders, you have to have a change request, you have to have an issue log that comes in. The issue log comes in for many of the stakeholders, depending on them. Okay, if they have an issue with it, they can easily come in, okay, we have an issue, we have this problem here, I don't like this, there's a bug here, and you have a change request. Now, for change request, depending on the type of project, though, there's some project that doesn't require change request, especially if it's a fixed contract project. In fixed contract projects, there's no change request, you can't change anything. What is signed at the beginning must be delivered at the end of it. So if there are going to be any changes, most times that means it has to be in the contract that, if there's going to be new changes, that's to incur new costs. But most times in fixed contracts, you find yourself just having the same project plan from the beginning to the end. So, but when you're developing software, managing software, it is really obvious, or in most cases, you find yourself having to use the change request form from different stakeholders. For example, you can be building an application or an AI right now, and along the line, the customer is like, okay, I don't want this feature any longer, because one thing about software is you do less planning in software. So along the line, it's believed along the line, you're going to find the solution, or you're going to find a better view of what you're trying to achieve along the line in software project management, or in managing software projects. So the tools for this, you have the interpersonal skills. I want to talk about interpersonal skills. We're talking about active listening, good communication, good writing skills, and managing every stakeholders in the best way you can. Now we have monitor stakeholder engagement. Now, what the purpose for this is to track effectiveness and adjust strategies. Now, what this means here is you're monitoring the stakeholder engagement, you're monitoring everything, you're tracking it. Okay, what you did at the beginning, what you started at the beginning of the project, is it working? Is it working for this project? Because along the line, you realize there might be changes, can be the changes in timeline for the project or changes in the availability of the stakeholders. Okay, my internal stakeholders, my team members, are they performing well? Are they dropping their tasks at the right time? They, meeting up with the deadlines, things like that. What goes on in when you're monitoring the stakeholder engagement plan. Now, your input or key inputs here, you have the work performance info and your project documents. Then the output is the work performance reports and updates to plans. So like I said earlier, monitoring just means you as a project manager trying to make sure, okay, is this technique taking effectiveness? Is it working? Do I need to change or adjust anything along the line in the project? So some of the techniques for this is data analysis and meeting. And when you say data analysis in a project, it means you trying to look at what you have at hand at that minute from your work performance information. Okay, are they performing well? How many of my team members are meeting up with their required tasks at the right period of time? Okay, is the work overload too much? Things like that, what you look as a project manager while managing or monitoring the stakeholders. So we have stakeholder analysis tools and techniques. Stakeholder register. For now, a stakeholder register is a living document with details like name, role, influence, interest, and expectations. So one thing I need you to understand here is in your stakeholder register, like I said earlier, you meet the name of the people of the required stakeholder, the role they have, the influence and the interest they have. Now, when they say the influence and interest, what we mean here is, do they have power to influence this project? Can the person have enough power to shut down the project or close the project? Does the other person or does the stakeholder have enough influence in this project that, oh, any change this person brings in has to be included in the project? So for example now, if you're working in a project management organization where you just deal with the clients directly or the customers directly, you have to listen to the client. If the client tells you, oh, she doesn't want this or he doesn't want this, you have to listen to them. For example, a few days ago, I was on a meeting with my technical team and we're managing a software for a client in the US. And she was complaining. She said, oh, she wants to see the code that my developers has written, that she wants to be sure that the code she wants to see the back end of what they are doing. And and everybody were like, why would she want to see the back end? And she was like, no, she wants to see so that when she launches the application, when they're doing testing, there will be less problems. And it's something a lot of people, the developers were not happy about. And I told them, sure. And it took us a few minutes to be able to show her the back end and for her to see what she wants to see. That way, because she is a customer, she satisfying her means we've done the project the right. So it means okay, the project is a success. If I, as a project manager on the meeting, decide to tell her, oh, you can't do this or we can't do that, we shouldn't be showing you what's going on in the back end, or you go against her will, she has the power and authority to say, okay, she's closing down the project. So you as a project manager, you have to understand who you are dealing with and the power of who you are dealing with. Now, it is not necessary that because someone has high influence, they are interested in projects. In some organizations, for example, if you are in an organization like a bank or in an IT organization where you might have your CTO, you might have your CIO and chief security officer. The chief security officer might not be interested in the project, but he might have high influence in the project. For example, if you're working in a bank, the chief security officer can say, oh, this application or what you're trying to build is going to bridge security gaps and all, and it can lead to the bank deciding to close that project. But in a situation where that's influence of him, now in a situation whereby he doesn't have influence in the project, that means let's say it's an application that does not have to do with any security breaches or any security going on in this kind of project. He might be interested in this project, but might not have the influence in this particular type of project. For example, even your team members, your project team, your developers, your front-end engineers, they have high interest in the project. Because they expect more from the project, they are the one leading the project, but they don't have influence in that project. They cannot change anything in the project. They can't decide that, oh, they want to change what the customer said must be green to red. They only have the high interest there. So when we talk about the interest or power interest grid, is you trying to understand where stakeholders stand. Okay, does this stakeholder have high interest in it, or do they have low interest in this project? So when you build a stakeholder register, you are expected to have that in mind that, okay, this person has high interest, this person has high influence in this project. So we have strategies for effective engagements. Firstly, we have what we call tailored communication. So that's where we use what we call the RACI charts. That's responsible, accountable, consulted, informed charts. Now, a RACI chart is used when you're trying to understand your project team, especially if you're internal team. If you have a task, you can put who is responsible for it, who is accountable for this task, this person is accountable for it, this person should be consulted for this, and this person should be informed about this. Now, note, your internal team, someone like your developer might be responsible for a task. It might be accountable, but you might not even need to be consulted for it. You might need to consult the CIO for it. You might also just needed to be informed about the task, but might not need to be informed about some certain things in that task also. We have engagement tactics, which means you are engaging your stakeholders constantly, meeting up with them. One thing about a project manager is you must have a very good communication skills. You must be able to manage your team or your team members' emotions. You must be able to, like, I do tell people, for me, one of the things that's helped me as a project manager is psychology. I took courses in psychology when I was in school. I did clinical psychology. I did it when I was sometimes in 300 level. So it has really helped me as a person to grow in my career that, okay, I can really tell when to do things, when not to do things, certain people, how to manage people ego. For example, I can remember I was managing a project sometimes 2 years ago, and I was the youngest in the project. And you come in as a very young person in the project, and I was working with people that are around 40, 45 years. And I was telling these engineers, oh, you have to do this, you have to do this. And some of them will come and say, oh, you're a small child, you're not meant to tell me when to do my job. And, as a project manager, I had a lot of work at that point in time to manage them that, okay, this person is older than me, they would not want to hear this, they would not want to hear this. I would come as project manager, manage the person, okay. So, most of the times I joke with them, make them laugh, and be like, this is your job, I need you to do it on time. You make them feel very comfortable, and they'll be like, okay, no problem, they are doing. In fact, up until late 2024, yeah, I could remember 2020, yeah, late 2025, yeah, I could remember, and these engineers were really even close. Every project that I was giving or they were giving, they would say, oh, they wanted me as a project manager there because I had built that relationship with them already. Now we're going to go to 10 knowledge areas of project management. So when we talk about the 10 knowledge areas of project management, we're talking about what makes up project management itself. These are, you can't think of this. When you think of project management, you have to have them in mind. Now, firstly, we have project integration. Second, we have scope, schedule, cost, quality, resources, communication, risk, requirements, and stakeholders. Now, let me explain how all this works. Now, when we talk about project integration, we're talking about how you coordinate everything in the project, from the process of when you develop your project charter to developing the project management plan to managing the project and directing the work of the project, to controlling the project and making sure everything's going on as you want in the project. So mind you, one thing I always tell people is that in most times when managing project, do not expect the projects to go in a very straightforward form. You're always going to find problems in different projects, and in fact, unexpected problems that you would not even think of. I could remember, let me give you an example now. I was managing a project sometimes in 2020, yeah, sometimes last year, 2025, for Wema Bank. It was a cybersecurity hardware project, CyberSense. So along the line in this project, we got to find out that we were going to climb Wema Bank Tower. I don't know if anyone has seen Wema Bank Tower here, but it's a very tall tower. So it was at the top of it. And I sent my engineer there, like, okay, the developers already did their work already on the software end. So now we just needed to install something. And initially in the morning, when I reached out to my engineer, I had communicated he needed to be at the bank or the customer site to deliver this project. He said to me, okay, he's going there, and he already communicated on that part, on the task he was meant to do. Just for later in the afternoon, the engineer sends me a picture and is like, oh, they have to climb the top of the tower to actually install this particular device. Now, that was a problem I did not foresee. My engineer did not even foresee at the beginning of the project. In fact, this particular, we had to hold on, we had to tell, because it's a life or death thing when you have to tell someone to climb the top of a tower. I was telling them, okay, you know what, we have to keep this on hold. I reached out to the customer project manager. We discussed and said, okay, we have to get an expert in climbing tall buildings to install this, which delayed the project by like a week or two. So one thing I always tell people is, in project, you meet different problems, expect problems. In fact, it can even be your engineer resigning, it can be your developers resigning, it can even be, in fact, if you one of the problems a lot of organizations face in managing projects, which I also did back in 2020, was dollar issue. You know, dollar was stable before our present president. So when you're managing project with Naira back then, you realize that, oh, okay, probably the project back then would cost you 20 million Naira. So, but along the line, because of the whole Naira issue, I think so back then Naira was going close to 2,000 Naira already per dollar. So a lot of projects had issues, then a lot of they needed to be changes. That's why right now, if you're managing projects in the professional side of view today, majority of the organizations will tell you they're dealing in dollars just to be able to curb the issues there. Now we have scope management. Now, when we talk about scope management, we're talking about what is included, what is not included, the processes about the project. You as the project manager, you have to get the scope. Okay, for example, we're looking at this page now. If the customer tells me, oh, I want green here, I want yellow here, I want the board marks to be written in black, all these things, you as a project manager, you have to keep it down, you have to write it down, you have to understand that, okay, this is what they want. And one thing you also have to do is to manage the scope. If you've managed software project before, you find your developers, you find your product designers, most especially, they would always want to add their own. They would always want to like, oh, this doesn't work. It's better we put it here. But one thing I've always told, or one thing I always tell people, and in my experience, is whatsoever the customer says, that's what you do. If it doesn't work, then you show the customer that, oh, this doesn't work. Because if you are going to advise the customer about it, let it be at the beginning of the project or when you are getting the scope of the project, not when executing. If you execute and you bring in what is not on the project plan or what was not agreed upon at the beginning of the project, you have completely failed the project. For example, if your customer tells you they want to build a software application that can take pictures and can scan face or do facial ID, and you end up just not doing facial ID and you do thumbprinting on it, you fail the project. You've not gone according to what is in plan for the project. Now we have schedule management. Now, when we talk about schedule management, we talk about planning, schedule, defining activities, understanding the time zone of when and how this project should be managed. You as a project manager, you should be able to plan and manage the schedule of everyone in your team. And one of the best way for doing that is the constant follow-up. Reach out to your developers on time. Okay, how many days will it take you to finish this task? They tell you 3 days. Okay, 3 days. You write it down. You keep up with them. What are the issues on ground? So you tackle whatsoever risk that you think that might affect your schedule at the beginning or might affect you being able to deliver that project in time. Now we have cost management. Now, when we talk about cost management, we'll talk about budget optimization. And also on a bigger scale, we talk about cost efficiency. Now, at the beginning of a project, one of the techniques used in the professional field today on which projects to pick comes from cost management. That is, okay, we look for the what we call the end value management, EVM. And when we talk about this, we're talking about, okay, how does this project brings value to us as an organization? So let me give you an example now. If at the beginning of the project, the cost for the project is rumored to be cost around $10,000, you create let's say the customer brings in, or the customer you're dealing with, you negotiate to build or run this project for the customer at the rate of $30,000. Now the organization looks at the cost, payments of the engineers and other availability or things that you can't imagine. You have $15,000 as your budget for the application or the project. Now you have $15 as profit to the organization. Now, but if another project comes in and tells you they are paying the cost of the project is just probably $1 million, and the customer that is coming in wants to pay $3 million. Now you prioritize the one with the highest end value, the one that brings in the right value to organization first before you go for the lower ones. So you as a project manager, while also managing costs, also means managing budgets, control the costs. Okay, in the midst of the project, you are expected, okay, let's say for example, you find out okay, this is what you're meant to spend in this particular task. You have to make sure that your designer or your engineers don't go above that budget, and one thing I always tell people is in cost management is always create a buffer. Now, a buffer, we're talking about 10% of the total project initially. You add it again to your project, just in case you find yourself in unforeseen circumstances. For example, I remember when we wanted to run testing for a chatbot back in 2023, yeah, or early 2024, yeah, a chatbot. So we wanted to run the testing, and the testing was to go around Lagos because we wanted to go to different healthcare centers and meet up with pregnant women. Now, lucky enough, because we realized our team was not big enough, or we didn't have a large team enough to reach out to every hospital at once, we took in some people based on contracts, and we were able to do that based on the fact that we had already added 10% of the initial project cost to it, which was used to sort this out. Now, quality management. Now, when we talk about quality, we talk about, the fitness for purpose, the processes, the tools, what are you bringing out the right quality for this project that was initially agreed on? So today, in one of the issues we have today, especially when it comes to construction, it has to be quality management. Presently, I'm managing a project, a construction project in Banana Island, and the previous project manager got the quality wrong for so many things. I could remember when I came in, the POP was bad already, water damaged the building, and a lot of things like that. So, and one of the best things you can do to yourself is to always get the right quality. Always understand what the client is trying to get. Okay, you reach out to the client. Okay, this is the quality that this is the quality we're trying to achieve. In order to achieve this quality, this is the cost and budget for it. And to do this, also, you also have to have inspection. You must inspect this project. For example, you might set the quality and the standard of the project high, and then it deliver something else. For example, now you can request for Dangote cement and it deliver Boa cement, and probably Boa might not work for that. Or you might request for a mixed cement or a waterproof cement, and it deliver a normal cement to you. So you as a project manager, you have to learn how to inspect this project. And when it comes to software also, you must know how to inspect the software. I do tell people that project manager I can go to front-end development, and the reason for this is I have built myself to that stage that I can always cite problems or the obvious problems in software projects. So you as a project manager, you must build your skill to that point that you must, and the reason for this is to be able to prevent problems, be able to prevent redo or extra budget. Because, for example, if you don't meet up with the right quality, you might be asked to redo the project, or let's say for example now you don't meet up with the right quality of software where you are expected to put green is red and all. Now you are forced to tell your team again to go and get back to that page or that task, and they have to redo it again, which takes more. Now we'll talk about resource management. We'll talk about you as a project manager managing resources. That means the human resources. We're talking about budgeting also. So resources is not just limited to it's not limited to when we talk of human resources or natural resources. Your project team are also your resources. In your organization, your chair, table, computers, you have to regard them as resources also. So you as a project manager, you must be able to manage resources for your project, especially when you're dealing with construction projects, or you're also dealing with hardware, IT infrastructural projects. You must be able to manage this resources. Now, while also managing this, you must also be able to manage your team itself. Now, if you look at this, we have what we call the Tokaman stage. And when we talk about the Tokaman stage, we talk about a stage of dealing with human behavior, human resource management when it comes to building teams. So we have the forming stage, the storming stage, norming stage, the performing stage, and the adjourning stage. Now, the forming stage is at the beginning of the project where everyone just comes in, the project manager comes in, the developer, everybody is just meeting each other newly in the project. Now, when we talk about the storming stage, everyone isn't used to the project. At this stage or at this point of the project, expect that there's going to be a lot of issues. There's going to constantly dramas, everyone in the team having issues together, But you as a project manager, this is where you must stand your ground and show strength by managing everyone's ego, pride, disputes in the project. You must be able to manage everyone in the whole project. Now, the numbing stage. At this stage, everyone is getting used to each other. We're getting used to each other. There's less issues are on ground. Yeah, there is, but you can't compare it to the storming stage. Now, the performing stage, this is where the project team is performing. In fact, you as a project manager, you're more concerned about the performance. Are they delivering every day than any other thing, because there will be less time or less issues at hand. In the adjourning stage, that is a stage of where the whole project team disperse. So now the reason why when we say disperse is because one thing you need to understand here is every project has an end. That's the beginning and an end. So at the end of the project, it's expected that the whole team go their different ways. Now we have communication management. When we talk about communication management, it talks about managing the communication rule. It talks about management of how you present your words, how you are able to manage different things. So, for example, this is as easy as it sounds. It's actually quite difficult, especially if you are working in multinational organizations. I can remember sometimes in 2020, I was working in a multinational, and I have some team members, then where some of them were South Africans, some were from what are they calling it? Tanzania, Tunisia, different countries, different African countries. In fact, we had few people in the US then. So when managing people from this, I got to realize that you have to manage these people or communicating with these people is completely different. Completely different. In fact, I remember then if you're on a meeting, you could say some things and the person from South Africa might not get you, but the person from Tunisia might not get you very well as a Nigerian. So you have to understand this. And now when we also talk about communication, we also talk about managing timelines with them, also communicating the reason for this or reason for that. For example, you can face issues of different time zone. In the essence that, okay, probably the time zone is 3 hours ahead or 5 times ahead or 6 hours ahead, And when you find yourself in problems like that, you must be able to monitor this project as a project manager. You must be able to monitor your team, give constant follow-up and explanation to, okay, this is what's going on this stakeholder side, on this your teammate side, you must communicate with them. Channels, you want when you talk about communication management, we also talk about communication plan. Okay, you plan how you communicate with everyone in the project. Okay, I'm going to communicate in my team every day. The external teams or external stakeholders probably once in a while, or you as a project manager, you decide this in the project plan, depending on what the stakeholders also agree upon. Now, when we talk about risk management, we're talking about the proactive uncertainty of managing processes in a project. Now, what does that mean? Okay, you're meant to identify a risk, okay, what's the probability of this happening? How do we avoid it, And one of the best way of doing this is what we call the Monte Carlo simulation. Now, what does this mean? It's a process of you looking at a project that is close to the particular projects you are managing at that moment in time. You look at it, okay, this is close to it, this is related to it, okay. These are the risks that we faced in the last project, and these are the ways we can do better. We have procurement management. So when we talk about procurement management, we're talking about resource, how to procure your resources. Okay, for example, is it going to be contracts? Okay, am I going to be there's some project that you realize that some parts of the project you might want to execute it alone, or you might want to give it to a contractor to do it just to reduce time, depending on the project. So you as a project manager, you are expected to manage the procurement manager or the procurement team. Like, for example, now if you are going to be getting some of these let's say tools or resources outside, just a project manager must be able to manage the whole team. Okay, even the procurement manager, you can reach out to him and say, okay, which vendors we have. Okay, the last time this vendor delivered late. This time around, I want a vendor that delivers fast. Okay, we're going to need this at this point of the project to avoid the risk of him delivering it. Let us tell him that we need this done by so and so time. So you as a project manager, you have to manage your procurement of the project. So we have stakeholder management, and like I said earlier, when we talk about stakeholder management, we're talking about managing your stakeholders, finding out the relevant stakeholders and where they stand. So thank you. So now I'll be taking questions and answers about the 10 knowledge areas and every other things we've talked about in the last few minutes.
All right. Thank you so very much, Zidane, for that. All right. So, Zidane, please, can you mute your mic? All right, thank you so very much, Zidane, for that amazing section, for that wonderful section. It was so amazing. Thank you so very much. So does anybody have any question for Zidane as regards what he has just taught us? So do you have any question? Do you have any question? Do you need clarity on anything? So if you have any question, if you are not in a noisy place, you can unmute yourself and speak. But if not, you can just drop your question in the question box, in the message box. I'll read it out and have Zayden attend to it. So let's go. If you have any question, please raise your hands up, or you can unmute yourself and speak. Thank you. So we don't have any questions for Zayden. That actually means that we all understood clearly everything he said. So if you think that you want clarity on anything, or maybe he actually said something that did not go down well on you, it's fine. You can actually raise your hands and speak. Let's hear you. So if no question, we'll move to the next section of this meeting. So then please, can you stop sharing? Thank you. All right, so I'll be sharing my screen very soon. All right. So, if you have been following us on any of our social media handles, you would actually testify to the fact that we have a 90% discount offer currently ongoing. If you joined us earlier this morning, we spoke about that. And if you are on any of our WhatsApp platform, I'm sure you must have known about that. So we have a 90% discount offer scholarship currently ongoing titled Women in Tech Scholarship. It's called Women in Tech Scholarship because the month of March is women's is for women. The month of March is, celebrating women, International Women's Day. And what better way for us to, celebrate the women who actually want to transition into the tech ecosystem, but however, they have a little bit of barrier, financial barrier, and all of that. So we said, okay, what can we do? Let us come up with this 90% scholarship. We slashed our price to the barest minimum. Trust me, to the barest minimum. Those who actually know us earlier, who know what our prices are, compared to what it is now, you would definitely know that we actually slashed it to the bare minimum. We actually did this just to, like I said earlier, just to celebrate women. And of course, we got some emails, we got some calls, some concern from men saying, oh, you guys, why must it be only women? There are also men who actually want to transition into the tech ecosystem, but they have financial barrier. Why would you make it only women? So we decided to say, okay, let's give some men this opportunity. Let's give those men who actually want to go into the tech ecosystem, however, they have limitations like finances. So now, if you have ever want to be in the tech ecosystem, but you feel like, oh, I want to study cybersecurity, but I don't have the money, I don't have millions to pay for training, and you want to study data analytics, HR analytics, data science, AI engineering, all these courses. Oh, I want to take these courses, but however, I don't have the money to take this training. Now is the best opportunity for you. Even if it means you to borrow, you have to borrow to just make sure you actually join this scholarship. Because the good thing, one thing about Amdoranalytics is that Amdor does not really do scholarship. They don't slash their prices like that. It's not something that comes all the time. It's a once in a blue moon thing. So whenever it comes, those who actually know who Amdor is, those who actually know what our prices are, they take advantage of this they take advantage of the opportunity. And I can boldly tell you that we have a lot of people who have actually signed up for this training, and very soon we will be closing the registration. So if you know you are actually interested, but then you are still confused, why Amdor? Why should I go for Amdor? Why should I choose Amdor? Why not other training institute? Fine, let me tell you why you should train with us. So number one, we have practical job ready training, right? Our train, just like you heard, for those who joined in the morning and joined to this current section, right? You can actually tell our trainings are practical job ready training. We don't give you recorded videos and say, go and watch and come back and tell us what you feel. No, it's a practical section, one-in-one section. Those who joined the data analytics class in the morning earlier today, right, they can actually tell that it's a practical section, right? You get to see your facilitator one-on-one, you see other students one-on-one. Some, while the classes were going on, some students were actually dropping messages on the message box asking, why is this, why Power BI, why SQL, why can't I download it? That is what our training feels like. Our training feels like you're in a physical class, right? It's not a training where you're giving recordings and say, oh, go and watch and come back and tell us what you feel. No, it's a practical job ready training. So that's one of the reasons why you should train with Amdor. And the second reason is industry standard tools and technologies. As you can hear, what our facilitator for today, Zaidan, actually said. He is an expert. He has industry experience, not only in one experience. This is somebody who has experience in the tech, is in fintech. He has actually worked with international brands. So all this experience, right, he will put it together. Most of our facilitators have this experience. Chinyere, the facilitator for data analytics that spoke this morning, she also have experience working with international brands, right? So all this experience, they are going to put them all together to give you the best experience. So just know that if you are choosing Amdoranalytics, you are actually choosing industry standard tools and technology. So the third reason is expert instructors with real experience. Do I need to emphasize that? I don't think I really need to say more about this, because if there is one thing you can actually tell about Amdo, one thing you can actually say about Amdo, that thing would be that they have expert instructors, expert facilitators with real experience. Just like Zaidan said that he was working with in a project last month. Oh, their experiences, they have experience not just in one field, they have experience in different fields. Imagine a facilitator who have over 1 decade experience, over 10 years of experience teaching you. Do you know what you're learning? You're not just learning 1 year experience, you're not learning from 2 years experience, you're not learning from a small amateur instructor, you're learning from a real world expert, right? So the first one is personalized mentorship and support. So one of our students still reached out, somebody who did our training last year, towards the beginning of last year. She still reached out to us last week to say, oh, I actually have this interview, but please, I really don't know how to go about it. I have an interview. It's for an international brand. This is like the very first time I'll be shortlisted for an international brand. Yes, I know I've been working with brands in Nigeria, local brands, but I've not done this international one before. How do I go about it? This is somebody who took her training 1 year ago. Just tell me the brand that would actually give you post-training support after you've taken their training. Some of them, once you pay your money, your training expires. After your training, if your training is going to be for 3 weeks, for 3 months, on the last day of the 3rd month, your mentorship expires. But over here is a lifetime mentorship, regardless of wherever you are. And of course, you don't have to only be in Nigeria to get this mentorship. You can be in UK. We have students in UK, Australia, Canada, United States, anywhere at all. Like location, your distance is not a barrier, right? So personalized mentorship and support, regardless, even if you feel like, oh, I've been applying for jobs and I don't get interviews, I don't get shortlisted, I don't get interview emails, I don't get mails for interview. What do I do? You can reach out to us and say, what do I do? Is there anything I'm doing wrong? Am I applying the wrong way? Is there something you feel I can do better? That is where we come in. That is where the personalized mentorship and support comes from, right? For those of us who are actually in our group, you can actually testify to the fact that over there is just like a family, it's a community. You drop a message, in less than 5 seconds, your message is being replied. And not just will your message be replied, our representative will still even come back to your DM, call you, just to make sure you are certified, like you've gotten the clarity you need. So the 5th one is flexible and beginner friendly. Oh, I want to start the training, but I don't have any prior experience. I want to do data analytics. I don't even know how to press computer. I don't even know how. Somebody was asking today, earlier today in our data analytics class, how do I download SQL? How do I download Excel? Yes, that is why we are here. We don't even want you to have any basic training. Whether you have any basic knowledge or not is not our business. Our trainings are beginner friendly. We are starting from the scratch. You know how you give birth to a child from the infant stage. You start grooming the child starts crawling. From crawling, they start sitting. From sitting, they start trying standing. From standing to walking. That is how our training will hold your hand step by step, because we believe no man is an island. Even if you've done your training somewhere else and you feel like, oh, I have experience, once you come to Amdo, we will still start afresh, because we believe in value. We believe in giving you value for every penny you've spent. So another Another reason why you should train with Amdoranalytics is certification that boosts your CV. Not only are you going to get your CV ready, and of course you would also get a CV review, right? I know that is not even included here, but yes, it is what it is. You will get a CV review. We'll review a CV for you, create a CV for you, tailored directly to what you study. So what that means that you would only use that CV to apply for anything you study. So if you study data analytics with us, and we'll create a CV for you, review a CV for you, a data analytics CV that you use to apply strictly for only data analytics job. Right. So there will be certification and boost certifications that boost your CV. After that, you get a recognized certificate that will boost your CV. Then the sixth one is career guidance and portfolio development. Right. So while you are taking the training, we'll also teach you on how to build your portfolio, right? Because there are some jobs that actually require you, while you apply, they will require you attach a portfolio. That's why we are here. So I know some of you, this is actually the first time of some people hearing what portfolio is all about, but it's fine. At Amdo, we teach you from the scratch, right? So you would get career guidance and portfolio development. Most people some people that have actually done their training in different places. I spoke to somebody who said, oh, I've done my training in three different organizations, and I don't think I need any training again. I said, okay, can I share with me your portfolio? Let me see what you worked on. He was like, portfolio, what is portfolio? I was like, really? And you've done your training in three different organizations, you don't even know one. She said, oh, my sister, I'm so sorry. Can you just calm down and can you just explain better to me what portfolio is? This is somebody who has taken three different trainings. So over here, there will be career guidance and portfolio development. We'll teach you how to develop your portfolio and teach you how to put your work, everything you've actually done, in your portfolio. Another thing is a supportive community. If you are in any of our WhatsApp group, if you are in any of our community, you can actually attest that we are very supportive. You ask questions. No question is being dropped on the group that it doesn't get a response. No question. Regardless of how small the question is, you would definitely get a representative reaching out to you just to make sure they answer your question. So another one is proving success stories. So if you go to our website, you can see, if you want to hear success stories from other people, you're still very confused. Okay, you still feel like, oh, I'm still confused. I want to hear other people. You can go to our website. You can just scroll down to our website. You will see success stories of our past students, those who have taken training with us over the years, their success stories, how Amdo impacted in their lives. And the last one for today is affordable quality training. Tell me where you will get a training less than $100, a data analytics training, not just anyhow training, a quality data analytics training for less than $100. Tell me where else, who else can run it if not Amdo? Only Amdo can actually do that. Trust me. So we at Amdo, we are very big at value. If you actually know our CEO, the owner of our organization, you can actually attest to the fact that she's very big on value. She wants everybody to get value, even if it means her coming on Saturday, on Sunday, after I'm going to church, come back and bring in a section and start teaching. That is how she is. She wants to make sure she was able to impact. She wants to make sure that you actually got value for your money. So now, if you're still thinking, don't allow this opportunity slide by. Right? Don't allow this opportunity pass you by, because this is a golden opportunity. Just like I told somebody a few minutes ago while I was on the call with somebody, I said, this is a golden opportunity. If you miss this opportunity, you have yourself to blame at the rest of the year. Maybe by this time next year, when you hear some people saying their success story, how they were able to earn in dollars, how they got international jobs, how they got career advancement, how they were able to upskill, and you'll be like, oh my God, had I known. Somebody like a slogan will say, had I known is a brother to nobody. Had I known is a enemy to somebody. Right? So you would be there saying, oh, had I known, if I had known. And by then, when you will come back to us, the training fee will not be 100K. Data analytics will not be 100K. AI and cybersecurity will not be 150K. HR analytics will not be 150K. By then, the price might even be triple of what it is right now. So thank you so very much, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. If you are still with us up to this point, up to this time, thank you so very much. I thank you so very much for honoring this amazing invitation. Despite the fact that it's weekend, a lot of us are busy, a lot of us want to rest, a lot of us had a very busy week, and this is the only period, this is the only time we have to rest. Yet we had the, we still have to join this section. So we don't take for granted. Trust me, it means a whole lot to all of us at Amdoranalytics. So thank you so very much once again. And if you have any question, please let me know. If you have any question, you can unmute yourself and speak, or type it in the message box. Then I will make sure it's attended to. But if not, we'll have to call it a day. See you some
I have
other
a question.
All right, that's fine. Please go ahead.
I have a daughter who just finished secondary school. She's about 18 years, and she's interested in going for something on
Hello, can you hear me?
knowledge of computer.
Yeah, I think yes, I think I lost you. Can you please start afresh?
Who just finished- Are you hearing me? Hello?
I can barely hear you. I don't know if
Hello?
yes, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. I want to ask a question on behalf of my daughter. She's just almost 18 years old, and she finished secondary school about almost 2 years ago. So she has interest in pursuing cybersecurity. So I was advising her to go to an institution first. But with what I heard from you now, I think she can start with you. Is there anything you can tell me more about that?
Of course, you don't need to allow her, you don't need to delay her, because what you're trying to do now, you're just trying to delay her career. Trust me. If had actually known what I knew when I was in secondary school, if I had probably proper guidance as of then, trust me, by now I would have been a way, way, way better person than how I am now. It's better to catch them now that they're young. She doesn't have so much things going on her head, she doesn't have so much problem. So it's very easier for her to learn. So it's better she learns now. She can even later be in the higher institution, and she will be working remotely. I had a friend then while I was in the university. She was actually working. We're just in 100 level. Imagine in 100 level, she was actually earning in dollars. And then we're looking at her. We don't know what she was doing as of then. Every time she's always in a laptop. Today she's having meetings. You come to her room, she'll tell you, "Oh, I'll see you later. Please, I'll call you later. I'm having meetings." She doesn't socialize. She's always on her own, always on her laptop. It was later around when I was around rounding up in the university that I knew that this girl is actually a tech girl. She has been the one sponsoring herself in school, and even her younger one, she was actually earning in dollars, and she was living a very comfortable life, courtesy of a remote job. She was working and schooling. So I would actually tell you that this is actually the best time to let her learn, because trust me, before she gets to 22, 23, 24, 25, imagine how good she would be. She would become a pro. By then, she would even have, maybe she might, I really don't, let me not exaggerate, right? But just allow her. You can actually share her number with us maybe later, or if you are in our platform, you can actually, share the link to her so that she can join the platform, so that we can have a consultation, a free consultation for her, so that we can guide her and groom her. This is actually the best time to groom her. You would not regret she transitioning into tech at this age, because before she gets to maybe 23, 24, 25, can you imagine how good she would be? By then, she will become a cybersecurity expert. Trust me. By then, she might not even be in Nigeria, because people like that, very young people, those are the ones who international brands are even looking out for, because they believe they have so much to give. They believe they have so much to offer.
Okay. All right. Maybe I will let her know when I get home. Probably I will send her number to you. You can help to talk more to her.
All right, that's fine. That's okay. Thank you, sir. Do we
All
have
right.
any other question from anybody? All right, if we don't, let's call it a day. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. See you in our next one. Bye.